Hey, it's Eli aka Atlas. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on drawing hair for men and women. This is a pretty broad topic since there are so many types of hairstyles, hair textures, and hair colors in the world, all of which affects how you should draw your hair. So I broke it down to two basic hairstyles, a men's number 2 or number 3, and a simple shoulder length hairstyle for women. Once you can grasp the basics of those, you can basically add on any other type of style over those. I'm going to be drawing 6 heads. 2 are going to be from the front, 2 from a 3/4 view, 2 from the back in 3/4. I'm skipping profile and full-on back views because if you can do a regular 3/4 from the front and a regular just mug shot, you can nail those other two. A little disclaimer, this is just how I approach hairstyles and is in no way the definitive way to do it. If you find another technique or come up with your own way that you like, by all means go for it. The first thing we need to know about drawing hair is it's extremely easy to do. Each strand of hair on the human head is made up of 3 parts: the medulla, the cortex, and the cuticle. The medulla is the innermost region and is an open, unstructured area. The cortex is the mid-layer of hair and the primary source of strength and water uptake. It contains melanin, which colors the hair. The shape of the follicle determines the shape of the cortex, and the shape of the fiber is related to how straight or curly your hair or a person's hair is. All of that said, how you want to draw your hair to look on paper, as I said, is a wide open area. So we're going to be approaching it with rules of thumb as always. It makes things a lot quicker and less scientific. Firstly, when you draw hair, keep in mind that it's affected by gravity like everything else in the universe. So all the hair, no matter if it starts from the top or sides, ends up hanging downwards. However, if the hair is very short, it will typically stay in place, as I like to say. And while you want to use the idea that the hair grows from the scalp, which is the very top of the head, the scalp isn't often as visible as it tends to be on women's heads simply because of the difference in hairstyles on men. To start, always mind your hairline. And hairlines can be anywhere. People with small foreheads have their hairlines a little closer to their eyebrows. You may see that sometimes. Some people have widow's peaks, so their hairline makes kind of like a V shape. Other people have receding hairlines, so their hairlines start way back on their heads. You've probably seen this as well. I'll place this hairline somewhere between the two of those. And one way to place your hairline is to follow the planes of the head, which if you've seen my previous tutorials on drawing faces, you'll have seen me gloss over and mention a few times. The hair on the sides make opposing triangular shapes, which you can place the tips of higher or lower as you see fit. So you can have the hairline on the sides coming either very close at the temples, like this, or you can have the hairline closer to the eyes, like this. That is entirely up to you. The forehead's line can either go straight across or curve, depending on what eye height we're seeing the character from, most importantly, and what type of haircut they have. We'll just make this one slightly curved. And I will have his sides kind of stop midway. With hair, one thing you don't want to do is over-render, even for darker hair colors, with cross-hatching or anything like that. even with coarser hair types. And as you can see, this is already basically done since this particular haircut sticks fairly close to the head. You can elevate it as much or as little as you like. Now when we go back to ink it, make sure you don't just draw a straight line, because your hair is made up of millions of strands. It should resemble that in some way. So we're going to make dotted and sparse lines. This is a simple way to make the hair look like it's actually growing from the head, using dots and lines. And these lines on the side go down because, as I said, gravity affects the hair even at its shortest. And for the outside, we can give his hair some jagged edges just to give it a look of having texture or some kind of softness or feel. It breaks up the monotony of the haircut. Now, the same rules apply here. Going to start with our pencil. This time, since we're seeing it more from the side, the triangle on the sides of his temples are going to be more pronounced. So make sure you establish early on how high and how low you want the peaks of the hairline to be, and stick with it. The back of the head, the hair will just cut off kind of in a diagonal line from the bottom of his ear. That tends to make everything look kind of uniform. And now we'll go in with the detail. Again, don't have to make his head completely smooth. The hair is growing out a bit, but it's still fairly close cropped. Finally, the last part, the nape of the neck for a male drawing is almost like the scalp for a female drawing. We can keep it simple or really make the hair look like it's growing from there. I usually keep it simple, but occasionally I'll make it more abstract, just because it looks more interesting. I'll show you how to do a little bit of both. So again, pencil in his hairline, the head of his ears. Like a real haircut, you can have the back of the hairline going any kind of way you want. You can have it go straight across, but because of the way I drew it above, so it's going at an angle, once again, make his hairline at an angle. Break up the outside with some jagged edges. Put his hairline in. And then do the hair, as you can feel on your own head, doesn't run through your ear, but it kind of goes around it. So now for the abstract bit, we're just going to have the here at the nape of his neck descend into a bunch of diagonal lines. And when your hair is at a certain length, at a shorter length, if you have a wavier hairstyle, you will be able to see some of those waves. And I usually like to make curves in rows of 3 like this to kind of indicate a wave of the hair. They don't have to be very tight rows, but eventually they spread out as this hair goes up. And kind of indicate the shape of his head if you want underneath it, since the hair is so short. And that is a basic number 1, number 2 kind of men's haircut. Now the most eagerly awaited part, I'm sure, drawing long flowing hair. Drawing long flowing hair is almost like drawing cloth. I have another tutorial on that as well, which you may want to watch just to understand some of the terminology I might throw out here. I'll link it in the cards up here, so please have your annotations on. What you need to do is determine how is the hair sitting. Is it resting on her shoulders, falling straight behind her back? For the sake of our drawing, you never really want to have your hair just sitting there. For example, like this. You will encounter some characters who will have hairstyles like this, but if you know how to do it so it looks more realistic, you won't have this problem where it just looks like a row of blinds hanging from a window. You always want your hair to look lively and glamorous because hair is a living thing, which is how it grows. So we're going to kind of have it fall behind her back and drape over her shoulder at the same time. Start with the hairline, but only from the top this time. Mind the planes of the head. We'll have the hairline start at the very top.